in March at the School of Economics and Finance and is in his 6 years at Victoria University. His supervisors are John Singleton, Mohamed Khaled, and Mondiera Salih. Simon got married in December. Congratulations. And his wife is also at the university studying for graduate diploma in teaching. Please welcome Simon.
Right. Well, my thesis was a contribution to the understanding of African economic development. Africa has been a big puzzle for development economists for many years because despite having a large portion of the world's natural resources and billions of dollars of international aid over the past few decades, most African countries have been unable to achieve sustained economic development and have remained plagued with poverty. Now, previous research tended to focus on problems with African countries, but my research looks at their successes and their application to other African nations. And I'm focusing particularly on the role of trade and exports in African economic development. Now, to do this, I'm looking at two of the most successful countries in Africa for the past few decades, Mauritius and Tunisia. And for those of you who don't know, Tunisia is a largely Arabic nation in northern Africa, and Mauritius is a small island 500 miles off the coast of Madagascar. Now, the significance of these two countries is that they are very different in almost all respects, and yet both managed to achieve and sustain rapid economic development since independence. Take a look at the change of real income since 1961, bearing in mind that African incomes largely stagnated over the period. Mauritian incomes almost quadrupled, and Tunisian incomes more than quadrupled, which is remarkable economic growth. The question is, what caused this growth? The aim of my research is to explore exactly that question. And to do that, I'm using a combination of qualitative and quantitative research. I'm using a case study style approach and then applying intuition from that to more empirical analysis, using a method called econometrics to identify the causes of growth. And by marrying the two together, I hope to build a more robust picture of what was actually driving growth in these two countries and hopefully find useful applications for other still impoverished African nations. To give you an analogy, it's like observing the result of a marathon and then going up to the two winners and saying, what did you do to make you run so well? And then applying that advice to the other competitors, most of whom in this case have very bad track records. Now naturally there's going to be a small contribution to an understanding of economic growth, but when you consider the implications of poverty for millions of the world's poor and the potential for economic growth to alleviate that, you realise that any contribution is important. As the great economist Robert Lucas once said, the consequences for human welfare are simply staggering. And once one starts to think about it, it's hard to think about anything else. Thank you.
I was very impressed with the way you contextualised your research, made it quite clear the background what for it is, and also how it differs from other research in that same area. Plus the use of analogy and things like that was also effective in helping us